Yeah. And you say Georgia's a swing state. Do you believe that whether or not you are on the ballot for the United States Senate, is Georgia winnable in 2020?
Absolutely. With a fair election system, Georgia's absolutely winnable. And despite the challenges we faced, we came closer than you should, given the challenges that were put in place and the barriers put in place for voting. It was an incredibly narrow race, less than 1.5%. And that's with a statewide race where the governor is the top of the ticket. With a presidential candidate at the top of the ticket, investing in Georgia and doing the work, we absolutely can carry Georgia. And with a strong Senate candidate, we will win. No question.
So and I know you are obviously a booster of Georgia, of your state, but there are a lot of people who are saying the answer to what Brian Kemp did, the governor there, did in terms of being the Secretary of State and restricting votes, basically being the referee as well as being the candidate, the reaction to that and to some of the things he's done as governor. I mean, this fetal heartbeat bill that was just signed, people are pretty appalled by the fact that he signed what is, I think, the most restrictive anti-abortion bill in the country. And so you have some folks that are talking boycott and saying that Hollywood should boycott the state of Georgia, that films, we know The Walking Dead is shot down. There are lots of television programs and movies are shot in Georgia and Atlanta. What do you make of these calls to boycott the state of Georgia?
I think it's a call to action and a call to attention. I do not actually support a boycott of our state. I think you re-victimize women, in particular, when you take away the jobs that have come to the state. However, I think it's very short-sighted of our business community and our political leadership to not recognize that these jobs can go elsewhere. Georgia grew its film industry on the backs of the shutdown of the tax credit in Michigan and North Carolina. Those tax credits are still available if those governors, now Democrats, refund those credits. And we've already seen governors across the country say, you can bring your jobs here. I think Georgia has to realize that while we are enjoying an extraordinary boom in the film industry, there's nothing that says it has to stay here. And we have to be a state that is not only friendly to business, we've got to be friendly to the women who work in these businesses. You should not have to worry about your ability to control your bodily autonomy because of the governor has pushed such an abominable and evil bill that is so restrictive. It's not only bad for morality and our humanity, it's bad for business.
Yeah, and it's challenging because Georgia is one of those states that's kind of two states in one, right? I mean, Atlanta is such a progressive city. People think of it as this really sort of bastion of progressivism or progressive policy and ideas. And yet the governor and the predominant legislator is very, very conservative. We've seen lots and lots of fights over cultural issues coming to Georgia. How does a state like that, a state like Georgia, advance and come forward when it's still governed in a way that is so arch-conservative?
Well, here's the thing. Georgia hasn't always been arch-conservative. Under the previous administration, in fact, the previous two, yes, we had some cultural issues that we had to fight through, but by and large, those were sublimated because we understood that the progress of Georgia relied on a bipartisan approach to change. Yes, we were small c conservative in some ways, but we didn't have the battles that you saw out. What's happened now is that Georgia has a governor who does not give primacy to the needs of the entire population. We have a miniature Trump who is playing to a base, and that base no longer reflects the whole of Georgia. And if you doubt that, look at the fact that it was a 50-50 election. You cannot say that you have a mandate for this type of behavior when it was such a narrow election result. Yeah. And unfortunately, Georgia's no longer just Atlanta and the rest of the state. It's Georgia, it's Atlanta, it's Savannah, it's Macon, it's Augusta, but it's also Cobb County, Gwinnett County. Parts of Georgia that were largely conservative have now evolved, and the state has to evolve with it.
Are you still interested in being governor of Georgia? Are you interested in a rematch with Brian Kemp?
That is one of the items on the table for me, yes.
Okay. Well, you don't have a place that you can announce that if you anytime you wanted to. Okay, we're going to keep you with us, Stacey Abrams. Stay with us. Everybody else go refresh your coffee, get another cup, get a second cup, and come back because there's going to be a lot more Stacey Abrams, more AM Joy after the break.